everyone. Episode number 72 of Christian Geeks Rockcast. This is Steve here on this side of the microphone. We got Britt over there.
What's up? Best-selling Christian author.
Yeah, best-selling Christian author. God, I keep forgetting that. Best-selling Christian author, Britt Mooney, behind the mic. How's it going?
It's going well, man. I'm excited about this one. You know, we did the second album first because of fan pressure. I don't know, was it pressure? You know, request. Yeah. And I was just reminded this week how much more I love this album. It's just how great this album is, top to bottom. So I'm excited about today. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good. In case you didn't see the episode title or look at the thumbnail, this is we're going to be doing Shout's debut album. It won't be long. And we figured, you know, we did the second album, which is a really good album, and a lot of people love it. This one is my favorite by Shout, like by a pretty good distance. And you know, there's a lot of reasons for that we can talk about later, but I was kind of excited. There's a lot of albums that we've done from bands so far where I've wanted to do an album and we decided to do a different one, but I'm like kind of like Sticks and Stones by 77s. That's my favorite album. That's the second 77s album we did. Right. The first one that we did, I love, but Sticks and Stones is still my favorite. So I'm excited about this episode too.
Yeah. And so for you and I, we have you, as we were talking before we started recording, your schedule has slowed down because football is over.
Amen.
College and high school. But my schedule, however, is still going strong because Elisha is in winter guard. So they're already practicing for, you know, the color guard for the spring and those competitions. And Hosanna my other daughter is in two different plays. She's in a community school musical doing The Descendants, which is like one of her favorite movies since she was a younger than she is now. And so that was just a great opportunity for her. She's in that. She's got a part in that. And then she just got the lead in Clue.
Awesome.
Well, it's not the lead, but it's one of the main parts, and it's probably has the most lines and stage time. So she's practicing for two different plays, and you know, then there'll be stuff next week and orchestra concert next week, and you know, so
yeah, we had our last band concert of the year yesterday for Alex, my son who's in high school, and Ethan, my son who's over at Samford University in Alabama. Like, he's in the marching band over there. The football team's not great, so they didn't make the FCS playoffs, which is good. I mean, the thing is, I don't go to all of his games, but I went to a couple.
Yeah, you went to a few.
Like where I could fit him in. But the problem is when I'm going, I'm fitting it into an already pretty packed schedule. So The reason I'm going is because I don't that's the Saturday that I can get over there. But yeah, so I'm excited. Of course, the holiday stuff is starting to crank up now that December is hit and Thanksgiving is over. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you gave thanks for all the wonderful things in your life, and Britt and I, you know, that you gave thanks for us.
Yes, that you have such a wonderful podcast to regularly listen to, at least once a month at this point.
Semi-regularly. It's like I still, like Britt always says, Britt's very, very kind, because he's like, you know, like, just let me know and we'll schedule something up. And I'm just like, I got to get through this. So I think we're getting to a point now where I might be able to record a little more often, which I would love to, but
we'll hit it a little more in January. So I had an idea today. Yeah. I'm going to run this by you. Okay, so first of all, I haven't seen. I kind of put out a challenge a few episodes ago that if people would pressure Michael Sweet to be on our podcast, that Steve would get a tattoo, some sort of tramp stamp of, you know, Oz Fox or something. I haven't seen
Why not?
anybody like try. I haven't seen that. I haven't, you know, I haven't seen anybody really try. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I have an idea of Christian rock action figures. I think we should make we should make action figures, you know, that look like Les Carlson, and you know, we could do like an RIP series, you know, of you know, Michael Bloodgood and Ted Kirkpatrick and some of these, you know, some of these people.
Yeah. Larry Norman,
Michael Knott, Larry Norman. I don't know. It's just a thought. We could probably very easily get some sort of 3D printer and make this happen. What do you think?
I know where I can find one.
Well, they're really not that expensive. I actually looked it up recently because I have ideas, like, because as an author, like, wouldn't it be cool to like make little figures of characters or something and have somebody design them? Because you can just put the design in there and have it make stuff, you know, and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, then you get into, I mean, royalties and that sort of thing. Because like I was reading an article about the guy, what's his name? He played Marty McFly's dad. In the first Back to the Future.
Oh my gosh, Crispin Glover.
Yeah, Crispin Glover. And so then in the second movie, nobody wanted to work with him, so they didn't hire him back. But they took like a prosthetic like mask and used a different guy.
Yes.
And then he sued and got money because they used something that looked like him in the second movie. Yeah, but it wasn't him.
They used a mask when he was old, and they used old, and then they used footage from the first movie and body doubles in other parts of the movie. And yeah, so yeah. No, well, see the
precedents.
Yeah. Well, I think Michael Sweet would probably be fine with us using his image and likeness. I really do think he would probably be totally cool with that. Don't you?
Especially if it's a fundraiser for this podcast, because he loves it. He loves it, doesn't he?
He loves it. He loves the podcast. He said it. Never. He's never said it, probably. I don't know. I'm
sure if we could probably pick words out of things he said and put it together.
We could do a deep fake. Oh my gosh.
You know, I've got a lot of videos of him
so
online.
Upset.
We can... Oh my gosh. Yeah. You remember how he went off on Girder Records?
That's why I'm making the joke. Yeah. Yes, that's why I'm making the joke.
We would be Girder Part 2, I think.
All right. Shout. This was a great song by Tears for Fears, and I've played this live.
It's wonderful.
And I thought, I just love this song. It has some very deep meaning.
You just let it all out.
You know, these are the things I can do without, for sure.
Come on. I'm talking to you. Sorry. This is completely ad-lib. I promise. We did not plan that at all.
Everybody knows that we are talking about the Ken Tamplin, Chuck King project, I guess. I mean, because on the first album, and I don't know how much we're going to get into it before the news, but on the first album, it was really just the two of them, and they had a couple studio musicians. There they are.
These guys right here. Look at those guys.
Look how young they are.
Oh, those mains. I would say those are mains. They've got mains.
For sure. And so, anyway, but it was just really the two of them writing the songs and doing the guitars, and Ken doing all the vocals, of course. And so, and then they got some studio musicians in, and this, I don't know why I got this album like right away, but I got it pretty much when it came out, and I completely fell in love with it. Completely fell in love with it when I first heard it. I just, it was right in the wheelhouse of musically and melodically and style of a lot of the stuff that I was listening to at the time. This came out in '87, which was right when hair metal and Striper and a lot of that stuff was taken off. And anyway, it's a great album. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. I did. It's like I didn't. Admittedly, I didn't know much of anything about Ken Tamplin before this album. I mean, he
I
was doing
didn't.
stuff. He was in the band Joshua,
Yeah.
which was it was not really on my radar.
Yeah, me neither.
And some of the guys that wound up playing in Shout came from Joshua, but I knew Chuck King because he had played on the first Idol Cure record,
Right.
and and I really love that album. You know, for its day, very day. We covered it years ago on the podcast, but it's weird I can say years ago on the podcast.
I know, right?
That's strange.
It
But
is.
we covered it a long, long time ago. I really like that album a lot, and so it felt weird for Chuck to move to this because it's a very different style and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, now I barely even think of Chuck as being an Idol Cure. But yeah,
Right.
I loved this album when it came out because it's one of those I've mentioned this before about records in this genre that we cover. This sort of come out of nowhere. It's like Frontline would, like working at the radio station, Frontline would ship me a single, and it would be of a band I never heard of. Maybe I saw like a teaser in CCM or Heaven's Metal or something, and I would get shipped a single or even a whole CD or something or a record, and I'd pop it on. I'd be like, oh my gosh, where have these guys been? Because some of the stuff we got was not great, but some of the stuff you get and you're like, okay,
sure.
this is good. And part of it was selfish for me because I wanted to have a really cool radio show. I wanted people to like want to listen in and hear really good music. And so when record companies would put out really good music, it would be exciting for me because I knew like this, I can mix this in and it sounds good. It's radio friendly. So I was excited about this record.
So good. And I knew nothing about Ken Tamplin. Of course, I was like, who is this guy? Like, who is this guy singing this stuff? You know? And it was just, his voice was phenomenal. The songs are great. You know, and I liked a lot of the pop rock, arena rock stuff as well, you know, because I was into the progressive metal and the heavier metal and all that around the same time. I was starting to get into some of that around that time as well. But this was right in that wheelhouse. And I have a funny story because, you know, we decided to do this album a few days ago. And so I was working Monday or yesterday. Anyway, I was working one day after we decided, and I was listening through, as we do, like I listened through this album and I listened through In Your Face. And then I went back and I was like, man, you know, I want to see what Ken Tamplin sounded like on Joshua. Like, what are some of the songs? Of course, there's nothing that I could find on Apple Music. I had to go to YouTube and they had some stuff uploaded. And on one of the songs, that Ken Tamplin sings on, from the Joshua album, I think it was Surrender, somebody on YouTube put in a comment, is Ken Tamplin lip syncing this too?
Oh my gosh.
And I cackled laughing. I could not. I was like, that's the funniest thing. It's kind of mean, but I just thought it was very funny.
Okay. Elephant in the room, right? So some of you listening will have no idea what we're talking about, and that's great. I would say keep it that way.
Yeah. So fast forward through this part.
Yeah. Give it like a couple of minutes. Yeah. So this whole controversy with Ken Tamplin potentially, allegedly, lip syncing at the Immortal Fest over the summer. Like I watched the videos online. There are people that were there that said it didn't seem like he was lip syncing. I mean, I think it was pretty clear to me because the background vocals were so crisp and there was way more background vocals than there were people, which is not shocking for Shout. Like I would have been shocked, honestly, if he didn't do that. But the vocals to me, I mean, they didn't sound like ripped straight from the album. Were they maybe pre-recorded? perhaps. But then my bigger point on this is, who cares? Like, why is it such a, why? I don't understand how this got to be such a big deal. It's kind of the gotcha culture of social media, I feel like.
There was definitely some, well, I think there's a couple things happening. Definitely the gotcha culture. And I think that there was already people who have seen his videos and ads and stuff like that, who probably already were annoyed by him for some unknown reason. And just, you know, they try to take people down. There's just people who try to take people down on social media and on the internet. They do it all the time. And what I don't understand is the people who spent time analyzing like the audio. I'm like, who, okay. So when I watched the video first, I said, there's a couple moments I don't think he's singing that. That's not all the moments. There was just a couple moments, definitely the background vocals. And I wasn't so sure about a couple other things. But, you know, there were other moments where he was, I think, obviously singing it, right? And you know, as a musician, it's kind of like the Bloodgood live double tape CD thing. There were moments where it was pretty clear Les Carlson went back and re-recorded a part or two. Maybe he wasn't as happy with the scream when they looked at the video, or it didn't sound very good, or it was weak, or whatever it was. But it wasn't a lot of it. It was just, there were just some parts here or there. But so for me, it was like, okay, I get it, you know. But for the people who like spent an inordinate amount of time to analyze it and try to point out every part, I'm like, man, just enjoy it. Just enjoy that. Those of us who love this music got to, at least on a video for me, but some people got to see him live. I mean, I've never seen Ken Tamplin or Shout live. Never seen him live.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was cool to see a video of them playing. And I would have been shocked knowing those, especially those first two, and some of Ken Tamplin's other stuff, those albums and the background vocals, if they could find anybody who could sing that. Even the background vocals are near impossible to sing. So, especially at the quality to make it live like that. So yeah, okay. You've got pre-recorded background vocals, and the guys were they were pretending like they were singing the background vocals. And I'm like, why are you pretending, man? We all get it. Like, at least I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was a really funny comment on a YouTube video. I don't normally do that, but like it was kind of there towards the top.
Well, it's kind of like this whole tongue in cheek, like, are we going to just start looking for skeletons in everyone's closet? Are we going to point fingers about every little thing now? It just, to me, it was much ado about nothing, because ultimately it doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things. I was just excited that Shout got back together and played this concert, because, and then granted, it was these two guys, Chuck King and Ken Tamplin, and, you know, and a couple other guys they've worked with before.
Yeah.
But it was still, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like if they'd gone up there and they were like, had no strings on the guitar, like that one very old King's X video. I don't know if anybody's ever seen, there's an old video of King's X before they were King's X, and they were called Sneak Preview. They may have pulled it off YouTube by now, but it's like, it's a concept video. And I don't know who told them it would be like, hey, you're not going to see the strings on the guitar. It's fine. Just don't worry about putting strings on the guitar. But Ty Tabor is up there playing, like strumming nothing. There's literally no strings on the guitar. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, like just enjoy it. Now, Ken Tamplin, love the guy. I get tired of seeing his Vocal Academy videos, and there's little silly things that are make no difference in the world to me, like kind of how he holds his tongue when he sings. But I think, you know,
we all see it. We all see it.
Yeah, we all see it. It's that, and then the fact that he sings with a Judy the Time Life operator microphone. Those are things that, like, does it matter in the overall scheme of things? Not really. Like, right. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, right.
But it's still.
I get it.
But anyway, I've got some news.
Yeah,
we should probably get to news eventually.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Get to news.
Okay. Actually, I got quite a few things. I was good about documenting things this time.
So what you're saying is we're going to do the album. It won't be long, but it might be a long episode, actually. Okay, got it. Go.
This album is called "It Will Be Long." The news, it will be long. Now, I'm going to try to zip through this pretty quickly. Okay, so a friend of mine, Lee Baker, who I've mentioned on the podcast before, he has a podcast called MiFi. He's the one that connected us with Ronnie Cates.
Nice,
great guy.
Nice.
He's a touring musician these days. He just released, or he's about to release, an album called Stone Tiger. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's incredible. I've listened to a lot of the songs from it. It's really, really good. But it's coming out on vinyl. It's pressed, I think, by a vinyl plant down in Athens, GA. So a very local product if you're a local person, which most of you probably aren't. But right. Okay, so that's Lee Baker, the Lee Baker Project. Then there's the 77s, which we talked about on the last episode. Yeah. They earned over $100,000 for their Kickstarter. So it's happening. I think it was already mostly recorded anyway. But they're putting it out. So it's called 7. And I'm excited. I'm a happy boy.
I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Because I was 30 years old the last time they put out an album of all original music. 30. I'm not 30 anymore.
Well, and Monty's, I've been listening to Monty's podcast a little bit more since he keeps giving updates about the Galactic Cowboys. And they did announce their drummer. I forget his name off the top of my head. But they did announce the drummer. So they've got a drummer. They've got, pictures of them jamming and working on material. So
that's exciting.
It is.
Yeah, they've last time, because I listened yesterday to his latest one, and they were talking about how they've got 10 songs that they've written. They just got to start cranking them out. So I'm excited about that album as well.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, the Choir released an album.
I know.
That nobody knew was happening.
Well, I mean, I believe I didn't know it happened, but I can't believe you didn't know it was happening.
No, I don't think they told. I mean, granted, if you're like in their inner circle, but I'm several concentric circles out from that. But like, it's called Translucent, and it's like an atmospheric instrumental album, which is pretty cool. I haven't listened to it much. I've heard a little bit of it. I think that's one of those I really need to be in the mood for it type albums. But apparently I read the other day that John Smaby and Todd Zeller and those guys talked to the Choir, and this album is going to be used as the soundtrack, like the score for the Us Kids documentary.
I know, I saw that.
So that's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Good job on all that, guys. So that album's out there. That's on vinyl and I think on the streaming services, maybe. I don't know. But I know it is on vinyl. The Liaison song we played on the last episode.
So good.
Which rocked. You can now purchase that song on their website, which again, I'll link in the show notes. And you can also buy merch. You can buy like shirts and stuff now from Liaison, which is pretty cool. So yeah, reach out, help those guys out. The song I think is $1.99, but it sort of, I think, helps them get things moving. So, the album can come out and just shows interest in the band and that sort of thing. So go check that out at their website. The Spotify Wraps are now out, which, is really exciting for people.
Really? I haven't noticed the 800 on my timeline.
The funny thing is like you look at it, like I look at them and some of them are highly curated. Or to be like, I listened to 347,000 minutes of music this year. And my favorite album or my favorite band was, whatever page I see it on. It's like, It's like the sort of like indie rock, whatever makes them look cool. But you wonder if the ones who are posting them are really, is that how legit is that? And like, do they do all of their listening, or do they realize, okay, I have to make this look good? So these are the artists I'm going to listen to on Spotify. I don't know either. I'm like a conspiracy theorist when it comes to this, but my nephew posted something the other day where he's like, December is the time to go on Spotify and listen to whatever you want. You can listen to all the bands that you don't want showing up on your,
right,
because
they'll start it over.
Comes out. Yeah. They'll start it over in January.
Yeah.
But sure, they come out at the beginning of December. So December's kind of the dead month, like the zone where you can listen to, like, get all your Nickelback in,
Taylor Swift,
whatever.
Mariah Carey, just get it all out there.
Oh yeah. So that's a little word of advice for everybody. And then Terry Taylor is apparently releasing his first 2 solo albums on like a double disc or something. It just says, the thing he put out said coming soon, but a 2-disc remastered limited edition set of Knowledge and Innocence and Briefing for the Ascent. So
I don't think it sounds special enough. It's like remastered. Like what is it? What are all the adjectives?
2-disc.
2-disc. Okay.
Remastered. Limited edition.
Limited gold plated.
With trading cards.
With trading cards. Right.
No trading cards.
Got it.
I did notice on Girders, like a Black Friday sale, you could get literally just trading card sets. I was like,
no, you're kidding me.
I wish I was.
No. I mean, because you and I do sit around and like do the trading cards. Like I've got 2 Michael Sweets and you've got, 3 Ray Terras.
I'll trade you a Bob Hartman for a for Michael Sweet. Yeah. And then I've gotten a lot of records, which just go look at our Facebook page.
Did you get a card? Did you get a trading card with the Barren Cross record?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Maybe they're cutting back.
Not. Yeah, no, I was very excited. Very excited. I still remember I went on a church trip, believe it or not, to Germany and Holland and stuff like that in 1989.
Yeah,
right after I graduated high school. We were singing. We sang.
Yeah, you did.
Because it was a choir trip. It was a choir trip.
Thank you for giving to the Lord. Was that one?
We've canceled that song.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
But anyway, but I remember I wore out that Barren Cross album on that trip. I don't know why. When I listen to that State of Control, I always think about that trip to Europe. But
nice.
And then lastly, from my perspective, you and I went to go see Stryper.
Yes.
On their 40th anniversary tour.
Yeah. Thoughts?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was better than the last time we saw them. I appreciated the fact that Oz powered through. This was the second to the last stop of their tour. And that it's got to take a lot out of those guys. Number one, because they're not young anymore. Number two, Oz is still recovering from brain surgery. So he did a lot of the concert sitting in a chair, but he was still just tearing it up. And he stood up a couple of times for a couple of the new numbers. But the first half of the concert was great. It was good old stuff. It was all like tuned down a little bit. And Michael Sweet hit one high note, which was awesome.
One.
It was awesome. But he hit one high note. But then they took a 30-minute intermission, which was hilarious.
It was.
But I get it. It was, again, they were able to go back and chill out.
Well, here's what I said that night, because everybody was like, what the heck? What are they doing? What are they doing this? And I said, this is how they sell merch.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is an old crowd. When it gets 10:30, they're not going to wait in a long line for merch. They're like, I'd rather go home. And so you take the 30 minutes to say, hey, go grab a beer, go grab something to drink, or I don't know, some people were drinking, whatever. Like, go grab a soda or something, go to our merch table. I bet they sold a whole lot of merch during that 30 minutes.
During the intermission, I went out, and there, I mean, I would guess based on it wasn't a full crowd, but that place holds like 1,100 people. I would say there were 800 people there.
Oh yeah, 700 or 800, easy.
Yeah, and so when I went out, the merch, I would say there were 150 people in the merch line during intermission.
Yeah,
easily.
So you got to figure they sold for 30 minutes straight at least.
Mm-hmm.
They sold stuff for 30 minutes straight. Yeah, I thought it was a decent show. I thought it was good. I don't know if I remember the last show well enough to compare. I'd say they're about equal. Yeah, so they tuned down a little bit, and his vocals, he fudged a lot on the vocals, just because, you know, he's getting older, and Michael's gone through vocal cord surgery too within the last year or something. What was it, January or something that happened? These people are falling apart, Steve. These people are falling apart. And these rockers. And anyway, so I thought they did a great job. Musically, they sounded phenomenal. I don't mind. Look, I do not mind tuning down a step or two. You know, King's X has tuned down 18 steps by now. I mean, it's like dubstep how low they are now. But you know, we're there to hear the songs, and we're there to rock out. And musically, they sounded great. Oz, I agree with you. Oz was, I mean, he was also singing the background vocals like he normally does, and so he was sounding good. And they sounded good on the second set where they did a lot of the past few whatever albums that they've done since 2000 or whatever. That was good, you know, and I really enjoyed it. I like the screens. A lot of these bands now, because when we went to Petra, they had like a screen where they were showing stuff. And I kind of like the screens. I think they could have done a little bit more with them, but maybe they were trying not to be distracting. But, you know, they did To Hell with the Devil, and there's a whole bunch of flames behind them and all this stuff. Like, it was cool. Like, there was some cool stuff. They did some cool stuff. So, no, I enjoyed it.
I like the retrospective. What was the song they did the sort of retrospective video for?
Oh, the When We Were Kings. The latest album. That song on the latest album.
So it was real. I mean, that was real. I almost brought a tear to my eye in a way, because it was like the whole gist of it was, you know, when we were big, you know, when rock was king, and so they had footage of them back when they first started. Yeah. And I was like curious about like the Perry and that sort of thing. But they showed both bass players. They showed Perry when he was with Firehouse. So, I mean, I thought it was very well done. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, no, I thought they did a great job.
All right. You got any news? I don't want to cut you off.
No, that was it.
That's a lot of news.
It was a lot of news. You did a good job. You powered through it like Oz Fox.
Yeah. I'm sitting down like Oz too. All right. So shout. It won't be long.
Yeah. So I heard a interview with Ken Tamplin. This is years ago. This is probably maybe 8 years ago. This is a while ago. And I don't remember what the podcast was, but it was an interview with Ken Tamplin, and he went into kind of his history of music, and he talked about how he was getting into the scene in LA or wherever he was in California, and how he really got to know a lot of other musicians, and how he started to gain respect with a lot of other musicians because of his voice and what he could do on the guitar. And then at some point, I don't remember exactly why, but he and Chuck King just started hanging out and started writing songs. Like they didn't have like a plan to start a band. They just started hanging out and writing songs. And then when they had material that they felt was really good and strong, they decided, why don't we record this? And shopped it around a little bit. If you listen to the album, I don't feel it's up front in your face about Christianity. Like he doesn't have. I don't think he says the word Jesus at all, or I don't even know if he says anything about God. You know what I mean? Like
this is Lord.
He says okay. But a lot of times that's in the like, oh Lord, like the blues version of oh Lord. But I think they wrote this album because of the circles that Ken Tamplin was moving in. That they wrote this album to be a little more for the quote unquote secular market. I don't think they were outright writing for, and that's kind of what I remember from this. And then of course they get into Frontline, and they get, and they start building from there. So they use some studio musicians, but Ken produced this album, and the drummer on this, one of the reasons, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why I like this album better is the drumming. And the drummer on this was Dennis Holt from AD.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love I don't love it as if like he's the best drummer in the world, but just he fits every song. He's got good parts, all of that. All the drumming is just amazing. And so, yeah. And we already talked about, this album came out and just blew me away. So good.
Yeah. I think that, I've got a lot of opinions about, like, I like most all of the Shout material and the Ken Tamplin material. I do, but I slot it in a very specific place in sort of my musical, whatever, like the stuff that I like. This album is a little more broad for me. Like, I like it better because I feel like there's a certain amount of restraint on this album that is not on other albums. Like I feel like Ken, and for whatever reason, maybe it was always his dream to like go crazy and do like 87 tracks of vocals and guitars on songs and stuff like that. But because Magdalene was that way, the next Shout record was that way, just a lot of stuff was that way. But this album is like his voice is really good, and he does all of the range. Yes. Like he goes from low to way up high, and you get that. You don't have to like do all this vocal gymnastics for me to realize that that's very, there's a lot of talent there. Guitar work is the same too. It's like the guitar work is really good, really solid, and they tear it up when they need to, but it's like, and I got into this probably a little bit when we talked about In Your Face, but it's just like, some of it's just like, it's exhausting to listen to In Your Face sometimes, just because it's just so much. It's like, whereas this album, it's slow at times, even slow heavy at times. It's just more restrained. And I appreciate that about this album versus his other stuff.
Well, and what interests me is he produced both albums. He might have produced Magdalene too. I don't know. But
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
But he probably produced his solo stuff. But on this album, the production really focuses on what is best for the song. That's what every production decision, you can tell, is tasteful, and it's what fits the song. And it's this album, and that's my hot take, is that In Your Face, Magdalene to some degree, and a lot of the other Ken Tamplin stuff, it's almost more like he's trying to fit a formula, where this just seems a little more organic in the sense of, yeah, we're trying to write within a certain style, but we're just going to focus on the song. Whereas you're right, like a lot of the other In Your Face, especially, and Magdalene, man, Lanny Cordola is so good, like they just, but it's just, you're right. It's so over the top. It's like, okay, you're distracting me from the song to some degree. And that's where, even, Eddie Van Halen, man, I've seen some videos recently about Eddie Van Halen, and I was thinking more about his playing. his playing was super difficult, and at times he would show off, but at times he really wouldn't. He just would hang a little bit and noodle around, and just, it would fit, and anyway, so this album to me, so that's a little bit of my hot take, is that this one, that a lot of his other albums to me sound a little bit more like he's trying to fit a formula and trying to just go over the top and prove how amazing he is at singing and guitar playing and all that stuff. Whereas this one, except for one song, this album is a masterclass in pop rock songwriting. This album, literally, you could study, except for one song, you could study, what is it, 8? There's 9 songs, or like 8 songs. They are, because I'll just say the same thing about every song, except for the one. They're perfect, melodically, musically, melodically, or the arrangement, everything about it, the solos, the placement, the musicianship, like all of it, it just works. It just works. It's like, yep, that's amazing songwriting. It's just amazing songwriting. And you could learn, even if you don't write this style, even if you don't sing or play this style, you can learn so much about songwriting from this album. And because they just keep making the right decisions. Like, I'm listening to these songs and going, yeah, that's the right decision. No wonder I love this album. Like, and you don't think, because now I'm studying it, where before I was just enjoying it,
Yeah. Well, I look at it like, excuse me, they like, when you're driving, I drive a lot, I work in Atlanta, I live way out in the suburbs, I drive a lot. So it's kind of like having like a McLaren or a Corvette or a really, like a really fast supercar. It's like, you can tell the people who are, they're just, the people who are confident with their car, they just drive like a normal person. Now, if they need to get around an 18-wheeler or a truck or a car or whatever that's going slow, you'll probably see the power come out and you whoa, that's pretty cool. But it's like, I feel like but then there's the idiots who just drive it like constantly at like 95 miles an hour, zipping in and out of traffic. This is a terrible, terrible metaphor. But so like Ken Tamplin is like like the McLaren, like his voice, his guitar, all that. He's very good at all that stuff. Just pull it out once or twice a song and just remind us. You don't have to do it, all the time. Because then we start getting annoyed by it. I mean, some people don't. I'm going to tell you this. I'm probably going to tick a lot of people off by that opinion, because I know a lot of people love them some.
There are a lot of people that their favorite album is In Your Face. This is why one was requested. That was why that one was requested on us. So I acknowledge that a lot of people probably do disagree with me. But when this album came out, it hit right in that hair metal, hard rock, pop rock, the scene that was happening. It was White Snake and Bon Jovi and MSG and the Scorpions and Europe and Stryper. It was like, they didn't copy other people, I don't think. And I think his voice helped. I think the songwriting was with Chuck King, which is a little more pop oriented, in my opinion, like Idle Cure and that stuff, a little more pop oriented. And then combined with his vocals, which again fit and were amazing, but were also kind of his own thing. You could maybe compare it a little bit like we did with In Your Face to David Coverdale, where he had kind of that low bluesy growl kind of thing. And then he would get high and high and high. But I think Ken Tamplin actually has a better voice than even David Coverdale, because Ken Tamplin's got a great mid-range. David Coverdale, he would do it, but like if you listen to a lot of his David Coverdale's live stuff, like David Coverdale didn't have the mid-range. He'd do the low growl, and then all of a sudden he'd jump. It's almost like the tourniquet thing, where he just kind of jump up to this high register, and you're like, oh, what happened in the in-between? Whereas on this album, like, man, Ken Tamplin's voice just moves through those different registers easily. And anyway, so good, man. All right.
It's good. We get some. Oh yeah, we need to do cover art. We didn't
Oh
do
yeah,
cover
we need
art.
to go. Well, you mean you showed the cover, but yeah, let's do cover art.
So the record is I think it's Jeff. Is it Jeff Foster? Jeff Foster that does the yeah, Jeff Foster. He did a lot of stuff. I think he may have done some of the Petra stuff. He did a lot of album cover stuff. So I think he hand illustrated this
the logo and
picture,
stuff.
obviously. Yeah. But he used to do a lot of that kind of stuff back in the day, like rock album stuff. But I think it's pretty good. It's fairly iconic. They look wonderful. They look the part. I mean, it's, they're kind of chill in that picture, which I kind of like.
Chuck King looks like he's got a secret or something. Like he's like kind of.
Yeah, he's kind of got a little bit of a smirk.
He's like
a little bit of a smirk.
I could tell you something, but you may not believe me. Yeah, no. I think it's.
And the one thing I noticed about this picture of them on the back, is
the hair is bigger somehow.
The hair is bigger, and Ken Tamplin's got just a crazy jawline.
He does.
Like
he does.
He's got a very square jaw, but I mean that shows masculinity right there. He may have that long, luscious hair, but he's got that masculine jawline.
Yeah, absolutely, he does.
Okay, I feel awkward now. So yeah, maybe we should get into music.
All right, the first song is "Never Stop."
I will not. Good. It's a great opening song.
It's a great opening song, and like I said before, the melodies, all of it, it's a perfect rock song in a lot of ways, but lyrically, I think every line and phrase is a cliche. I haven't done the research or the time to make sure that what I'm saying is 100% correct, but I'm pretty sure at least 90% of the lines on this song are a cliche. Now, this was an era where there were a lot of songs and bands that would have songs with cliches, and they would write with cliches, but not all of them. And even Stryper did a little bit, but Stryper was a little more creative about it, to be honest. So, I texted Steve at one point and I said, Angelica and this first album, Angelica, Walking in Faith, and this album from Shout would be like tied for most cliches ever used on an album. So, but melodically, man, just the pre-chorus, like everything flows into each other. They're distinct parts, but they fit. And, because he's such a great singer, he can use these different parts of his register and just make it soar and make these choruses really soar. And I didn't really go into, but it's almost like the Elefantes were involved in some of the songwriting. Like, it's just, okay, let's have a big chorus. We need a big chorus, you know? And they just kept doing it because they can pull it off. And that's what happens when you have a singer like John Schlitt or Ken Tamplin. You can pull off those big soaring choruses. So good.
Yeah. It's funny though, because I mean, granted, this album came out when I was 16 years old or whatever. But like, I couldn't care less about cliches.
I know. Oh no, me neither. Back then, no, absolutely.
Well, even now, it's like, you know, now that I'm looking at the lyric sheet and I'm reading through it, I'm like, yeah. In time, it'll all work out. Never stop running. You know, out of the blue, came crashing through the night.
Okay, that line. Okay, I gotta do a little critique of that line.
Okay.
I want you to think about the concept. Out of the blue, came crashing through the night.
The sky is not blue at night.
The sky is not blue at night. Like, what's happening here? Like if you were poetic in other areas, maybe I would give you a break on this one. But it's just like, I mean, how cliche is out of the blue, by the way?
Hear me out. This is a cliche. This is a cliche wrapped in a cliche, because, you know, when you say out of the blue, he came, you know, and hit me in the head. So you're not speaking about the sky. So you can't think of out of the blue, it came crashing through the night as one giant cliche. You're out of crashing through the night is one cliche. Inside that cliche is out of the blue.
Oh, okay.
It's a little deeper than you can comprehend.
Got it. Okay. I know what they meant. I was just like, when I was reading through the lyrics the other day, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. All right. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, this upcoming song is a great song for college football fans. Especially here at the end of the season, for like Georgia Tech, you know, winners or losers, we're all the same.
Especially coming up on the playoff season, you know, the championships and playoffs. I'm just going to say ahead of time, it was one of my favorite songs then. It's one of my favorite songs now. It's just so good. It's such an amazing song.
Very solid.
Hear that groove?
Mm-hmm. It's doing its whole, baby.
So another thing he does well on this album is when he does the second verse, he mixes it up. He mixes up the melody. He plays with it. That's so good. Mm-hmm. Like, as a vocalist, like the listeners, they don't consciously think this, but they have the tendency to get bored if you're just going to repeat the same line, the same melody, the same way. But he's got the vocal chops where he can mix it up a little bit and give it some soul. And you're like, oh, there's a little different timing. It's still the same verse, but yeah, he does a great job on that with this album.
Well, it's funny you said that, because I was like listening to it, and I've heard this album hundreds of times, literally. But it's like I was in my head, I was singing that second line of the chorus the way he sings it the second time through,
right,
where he kind of goes a little higher. But Yeah. I mean, I totally get it. Totally get it.
Yeah. It's great singers do that. That's what great singers do. And great producers, which of course, Ken is the producer, which, but great producers, which is why, some of these, I keep harping on this, which is why some of these modern albums, recent albums by some of these old school guys that are just producing their own albums, I listen to them sometimes and go, that needed a producer, because just that little edge, just those little edges of give it another shot, mix it up a little bit, go up on that last line instead of down, like these little mix, little things that a producer would do, because when you're in it, you don't see it as well. It's just like as being an author. That's why you need an editor. There's just some things you're not going to see. And it takes an editor and another pair of eyes or ears that you do this. And maybe something that helped, at least on this first album, was Chuck King. Chuck King was kind of that sounding board of, let's do something different on this time. Let's make this bigger. Let's make this smaller. Let's pull it back here. Let's do these things. Because he kind of came from that pop rock sort of background. All right. You ready for it's going to be a long one, or what's it called?
It will be very long. That's what it's. Oh wait, it won't be long. It won't be long.
I love this intro.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
Just another really good one. It's just another really good. It's all in the same style, but they're each a little different. That's another thing I like about these songs is they each have a little bit of a different, feel to them. They're not all just the same. Like there's some, like on that Angelica record, as much as I love it, you're like, okay, which song is this? Because there's so similar in some ways.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
and I was thinking about this when I was listening to the beginning of that song, and again, this kind of goes back into the percolations of my teenage brain, a teenage brain that was pretty much almost only listening to Christian music, and I had probably only within the last few years really gotten into Christian rock when this came out. I guess maybe I'd been several years into it, but when hair bands were I loved that hair band music, and I really wanted there to be some good Christian hair band music because I was trying to be a really good Christian and not listen to the stuff I wasn't supposed to listen to. But and no offense to the the bands that looked at it more of as a ministry than as a profession or an art form or whatever. But like, I just appreciated the fact, like when you're listening to that song, you hear him playing the acoustic guitar, like the flamenco style or whatever it is. It's just really good. And, you can tell that there's a lot of talent there. And you're just like, I just like hearing talented people make music for God, because sometimes you hear, I won't name names. Sometimes you would hear the Christian music and it's like, okay, this is just it's a cookie cutter Christian version of X.
Right.
And granted, I mean, there's some derivative stuff in this too, but there's talent there too. You can tell there's a lot of talent on this record. Sure. So
yeah. So I need to correct myself. He does say God in Winners or Losers, in God's eyes. He does say that. And this one is really an interesting song because he's talking about the judgment coming. He's talking about the end of time, like God bringing. It doesn't come out and say it in that way, in a very religious way, but he's kind of, using more modern language for that time and music, but the underlying message is, it won't be long until God's going to reveal everything, basically. And it was really, and I wanted to, oh wait, I missed it.
The high note.
This is a commercial for Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. There he is. There's that note right there.
Yeah. I mean, the dude can flat out sing.
The dude can flat out.
I don't care where he puts his tongue. He can sing.
Do you remember? Okay, there was a one-hit wonder around this time, maybe more like 1990, called Steelheart, and they had a song called "I'll Never Let You Go." Like, that guy hit ungodly notes. Like, that's kind of like how I feel about Ken Tamplin sometimes, is when he pulls it out, you're like, holy crap. Like, where does that come from?
Hey, you remember the Christian rock connection to Steelheart, don't you?
No.
One of the guys in Steelheart came from Rage of Angels.
I did not know that. I didn't know that.
Something for maybe an episode down the road.
I know. We're considering the Rage of Angels album. That's on the list.
So you're saying that this is modern day poetry about the end times. High life. They say the strong survive. Don't care about all that jive. No one makes it out alive.
No cliches in there at all.
Don't care about all that jive. No, that is a good song. That's another good song.
I love it. All right. Power ballad time.
Oh yeah, this is one of my faves. If you go back to our power.
It's so good.
That word, power ballad.
Yeah, his voice is so good on this. They even got the piano on it.
So good. I really do love this song.
Stop.
And what's amazing is his voice sounds so good at that low register too. Like his voice sounds good at all of them.
Oh yeah. No,
it's so good.
It's like, this is a good, I mean, it's a great example of songs that build. And I've mentioned this before. I love songs that build. And it goes from, like, it starts rocking towards the end, and his voice gets, stronger towards the end. I mean, not stronger as in like better, just he sings with more projection. I don't know. It's just a really good song, which, by the way, I did a dramatic reading of this song, which I'm still praying about releasing to the world. So just keep an eye on our social media, because it might drop.
You don't want to miss it.
It might drop one day.
Don't want to miss that.
Don't want to miss that. It's going to be good.
Merry Christmas. Merry Festivus for the rest of us.
Oh my gosh. It's my little Christmas gift to you, the listener. But
it's a great power ballad. And remember, I mean, the power ballads were the thing. I mean, again, I don't know if this was played on Christian radio. I can assume it was.
It was by me.
By you. But it's again, except for one, and we're about to get to it, they're all melodically perfect, and production wise, everything fits. They're not showing off. When they do something great, it fits the song emotionally. That's what I'm getting to. When it's like, you got to fit the song emotionally, and they just do a great job. So on this album,
and the keyboard player on this album, Mark Hugenberger, I think that's right. Like, I've never heard of the guy before. He maybe played on a lot of stuff I'm just not aware of.
Yeah,
but he's kind of all over this album, and I'll be the first to tell you, it's like, I love keyboards in hard rock music. I think that's why I love Dream Theater.
Yeah,
there's a lot of other bands that use keys, and if you can mix in piano into hard rock or metal, even, I'm in. Yeah,
I'm in.
So
I'm with you. All right, so here I'm going to just preemptively say this is not one of the perfect songs on the album. Dancing Around the World.
But there's grooving and dancing to the beat tonight.
Yeah, it's a mess song for me. It's not horrible because he's super talented and it's not bad. But, okay, so we talked about this a little bit before. During this time with these 80s bands, especially the hair metal bands, there were almost always, it was on a lot of albums. Tesla would do it. I mean, like, all these bands would do it, where they'd have one song that was just about how hard they rock. There would just be one song on the album that was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but it's okay to rock. And then Stryper would put a twist on it. It's okay to rock for Jesus. They would do their own version of it, like the sing-along song. And I think that this just feels like a song that's trying to be like those other songs. That's the way it feels to me. And it's like, you've got so much talent and you've got so many things you could say, and this song doesn't say anything. Like, in the end, this song just doesn't, okay, we're going to dance, and it's fun to dance. Isn't it fun to dance? Let's dance. And I'm like, okay. Like, and it's one thing if Dokken has a song about rocking, but it was one thing if you're a Christian band and it's just, at least Stryper made it interesting with, we've got the right to sing about Jesus, okay? Like they made it a little more rebellious in their own way. Let's make Christianity rebellious. Like, it was awesome.
We'll show them. This is funny because listening through, and it's been a minute since I've listened to the album, but I've listened to it a few times this week. And it's like just looking at, the lyric or the song titles in my car. And it's just like, I saw Rock or Dancing Around the World, and just the title of the song, I was like going, I don't know if I like this one, but it really had more to do with the title than anything else. I mean, and then it got into it. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of like this one, but I like it more because it's a fun song, and honestly, I don't think I've paid as close attention to the lyrics as I have within the last like 3 minutes, but it is pablum to say the least. It's just like, there's nothing to it. It's like that, it's like those foam peanuts that you get that dissolve in water.
There you go.
It's like it just sort of goes to nothing when you look at the lyrics. But yeah, it's fine. To me, this is a filler song.
It's a filler song, and it's fun and it's listenable because they're talented. It's kind of like my joke about Led Zeppelin always was. Like, if you really paid attention to what Led Zeppelin was doing, like, the lyrics made no sense half the time, and he was just saying baby a lot. But because they had some of the best musicians ever, and his voice was amazing, he could sing the phone book, and you were like, I'm in. I got it. Put John Bonham with a groove on it and just, rock it out. So talent can go a long way.
For sure. And I figure this is probably a good time to bring this up since I didn't bring it up earlier. Now that we're between side 1 and side 2. So
that's true. That's a halftime.
So here's a little palate cleanser question for you. Do you think that if the internet existed, I mean, it existed, we won't get into that debate, but if it was more more readily available, if Al Gore had already put it out there, and search engines were a thing, do you think that they would have named their band Shout? Because I think about stuff like this. It's like, Petra, you search Petra, you search somebody, Mylan Lefevre, you search now, and Tourniquet's another one. It's like, it's a cool name, but
what are you going to get when you search it?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to find. And even Shout, it's like, if you can sort by bands, you can find them pretty easily. But if you can't sort by bands, it's just a word.
It's just a word. And wasn't there like a detergent or something called Shout too?
Yeah. Yes, the little spray stuff. Yeah. Shout it out.
Shout it out.
Never let
he wrote this to be a jingle for a commercial.
Exactly. They missed an opportunity. I never heard it. Oh my gosh. They could have been the official band of like clean clothes.
getting those Christian youth group stains out of your jeans. All right.
Oh Lord.
Okay, I'll stop there.
Of which,
I'm going to stop there.
That's a good idea. I'm going to get like that big cane, like right, the Apollo, and pull you off stage. Speaking of Shout.
Speaking of Shout.
Song about it.
Here you go. So much reverb.
Oh yeah.
Tough, just call the hen and it ain't no bluff.
I like the double solos. There's some great double solos on this album. I really like them because they're tasty. They're just real tasteful but obviously difficult too. So good stuff.
Yeah, the guitars underneath the verses very AC/DC like.
A little bit. Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard for me to sing it without but it's like, it's kind of like that sort of offbeat a little bit, just sort of, kind of, it could have been a little grungier, but it was good. But I mean, it's, to me, this is like, I have other than like, Big Country or, something like that. It's like, I have I think of these songs where you sing a song that's the same as the band name. I was like, is this your theme song? Did you write the song first or get the band name first? I was curious about that.
Good question.
But, which came first?
Well, we'll have to message Ken Tamplin online, next time he puts out a video about his singing course. We'll ask him that question, see if he responds.
Or a rebuttal to all the haters.
Or
Man, he rebutted the haters.
He did rebut the haters. Yeah, and they were being ridiculous in my opinion. So
I agree. I completely agree. It's a great. It's for being a first. Like if the song "Shout" showed up on like the third album, it'd be like, really, guys, you finally. But I think opening song, second side, first album, I'm on board. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm good. So just one thing, I don't know if we talked about this before, but we're going to go back to the drums at the beginning. Okay, so here's the thing about reverb. I don't know if people know this about reverb, but back in these days, there was a rule about reverb. When you put the reverb on a snare, the reverb had to, the effect had to end before it had to fill the space in between. Does that make sense? Like until the drums were hit next time, the reverb had to go the whole way through. So listen. It's like perfect. It's like perfect reverb. I mean, for that day, for those, for that era, like that was exactly what they taught engineers to do with reverb on your kick and your snare. Like, and in a bigger mix, you can't really tell, unless you really, whatever.
And I would be willing to guess that Dennis Holt brought a lot of his like Kansas experience, AD experience, all that stuff into this recording where he's like, he probably was helping tweak some of that stuff.
Oh, for sure. All right, let's do Showdown.
This was the big rock hit.
Was it? It's another great song, just well put together. And I did write a note on this one that one of the things that he does well, but it's very difficult. So when you're singing higher and you're pushing those notes, it's much more difficult to enunciate. And so you can kind of see some of that on this song because during the chorus, the chorus is very high and it's really just him. And he's enunciating, but it's not quite as clear, because he's really pushing it. Sounds great though. Such a good song.
Yeah. This song sounds like one of the probably few songs from this album that would fit on In Your Face.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a little more of that style. And I wonder if the success of this song, because it was a pretty big Christian rock hit.
Okay.
If that propelled, like, we should do a whole album, maybe even push it further.
Right.
What do you think? I don't know.
It
could be, but I love the song. I love playing it on the radio. I love playing it loud in my car.
That's good stuff. I like it. I like the song a lot. And the end of time sort of theme runs throughout this whole album. So I don't know. I don't know how conscious it is, but it won't be long. Showdown. Some of these things is, kind of it runs that theme. All right. Another great song, Timeless Love.
It had to take some time. See, nothing I can do. Oh, could get close to you. No, you never failed. Oh, how your love prevailed. Nothing I can say. I wanna be with you someday.
I don't know if we'll get to it, but I love the bridge on this one. The bridge on this one is just, his voice sounds amazing. It's great. It's a great song. It's just another really great, well put together song.
Yeah. It's like, again, you mentioned earlier about how the songs are all good. They're all solid. There's a similarity between them, but they're different enough that you don't kind of get tired of them. It's like the pace of this song is very different than Showdown.
Yeah.
Like it takes it, pulls it way back.
Yeah.
Into more of a groove, which is, I don't know. I like it. I like the sort of speeding up, slowing down, keeping it interesting.
Yeah, me too. Let's see if I get to it.
You can do it. I have faith in you.
His voice. Like if you can sing like that, you can do stuff like that. Like that's just, it's so good. It's so good. All right. Any other thoughts on Timeless Love? Again, it's a very simple message, but it's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good song. Solid.
All right. And just another one. I really, again, it's a little different. So they're changing it up a little bit and with a little different sort of groove to it. It's good. Without You.
And I know
love the chorus. It just kind of swings. It swings a little bit, but it's still hair metal. It's just, it's kind of happy a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
anyway, it's good.
Yeah, it's like this one's got it's an interesting mix of styles. Like it kind of starts out with a little bit of sort of almost sassy GNR kind of vibe, or I'm trying to think if there were other bands, other secular bands back in the day that kind of had that sort of a little bit bluesy, a little bit, you know, I say sassy kind of. It's like it was less sort of in your face like hair metal, but it kind of had a little bit of a more of a, but then it kind of immediately scales back and goes like boom, and kind of gets sort of more, a little bit more chilled out on the verses, and then it brings it back up for the chorus. It's an interesting. It's kind of all over the place stylistically, but I still dig it.
Yeah, but it fits, and then as in when the next part comes in, the style fits the melody and the lyrics. You know, even though the lyrics might be cliche, again, but it's got a good feel to it. It fits what they're saying and what they're doing and what they're trying. The message they're trying to get across. Just. I actually really dig this song. I don't know if it's my second favorite on the album, but it might be close. I just like the different feel to it, and it's a great ending song for the album. And they did a good job ordering the songs, I think, to kind of mix it up and keep it flowing. So well done.
Do they kind of like go a little crazy at the end of this song? Am I remembering this correctly? Like guitar wise, like I feel like they kind of go out with like just kind of tearing it up.
I think you're right.
I could be wrong, but
yeah.
This
is the In Your Face. This is a transition to In Your Face.
Yeah. The thing is, I love it because it's a little bit subtle, but yeah, I agree. It may be like foreshadowing. It's like, by the way, we're going to do a whole album of this. You're going to love it.
I hope you like this because that's what's coming. So here's what I think. And, you know, Ken Tamplin, if you're listening and you've made it this far with our ramblings about your music and your voice, here's what I think. You know, Ken Tamplin can correct me or someone can correct me if you know. I think what happened is they got on tour, and what worked live was they jammed, and between his vocals and flashy guitar, that's what people cheered for. That's what I think happened. And then they just, when they wrote songs, they're like, and then he was able to invite some people he knew. Cause like I said before, he was involved in that LA musicians scene. So he invited friends, Lanny and Marty and people that he knew that were amazing guitar players. And it's just like, man, let's just do one song where we just rip it up. You know, I think he did what he wanted to do. But for me, it's like the albums that really focus on the songs. Cause I think songs are what stick in people's brain. You know, they connect with people. And when you serve the song well, like they do on this album, it makes for a really great album. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to me, they never, and there were moments of brilliance in Ken Tamplin's career after this with Shout and solo albums and Magdalene. Like there's some amazing stuff on the Magdalene album.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't think front to back, there was another album they put out that was just this solid from front to back.
I agree with that. I think some of it is, from what I understand from that interview that I heard on a podcast, they were just writing these songs in a living room somewhere. They didn't know what they were going to do with them. It was just, let's write great songs. And then when they realized they had great material, they were like, hey, we could actually do something with this. You know, because Ken Tamplin was probably learning songwriting with Joshua, and to some degree. And then he wanted to work on his songwriting. So he brings Chuck King in from Idle Cure, and they're Christians and they're just connecting. And then it just feels more like man, we just tried to write great songs. And I'm not saying they didn't write good songs on the other stuff, because there's some, I like some, there's a lot of songs I like on the other albums. But I just think they were just able to, like you said, front to back, put together great material. And that's what happens with a lot of bands when their first album, because they had a couple years to work on it. In them, and
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And whereas like they put In Your Face out a year later or something, which we talked about that with Christian bands too, where they didn't sometimes have as much time, which actually is amazing that some of them did great albums. They just kept making great music. They just kept pumping them out one a year. So yeah.
No, it's good. To me, this was an era when Frontline was just cranking out just great stuff.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, and there wasn't a ton of competition for that back in the day, back in 88, 87, 86, for really good, edgy metal hair band. I mean, there were a few, like the Regency Records was doing some stuff, but they were even way more indie than Frontline. And Broken Records was a little bit later, but maybe, but they might have been around this time. But anyway, bottom line is Frontline Records was they were in their wheelhouse from like 87 to like maybe 90, just amazing stuff year after year on that. So Shout was another one. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this album. I know I did.
Yep.
I mean, if you've been on the 85 southbound from Gwinnett County to Atlanta in the mornings this week, or from Atlanta back to Gwinnett County on 85 in the evenings or the afternoons, you might have heard this album this week. Just saying.
Really loudly.
Yeah.
Did you pump it out from the Tesla? Did you pump it out to the, did you try to rock everybody else out?
I did not, because I do have, I don't want to get arrested.
Okay.
But I do want everyone to enjoy the music I listen to. So I do have standards, Britt. I have some standards.
Okay. I got it. Well, I know you have standards because I was trying to get you to make the fart noises on the outside, when we were trying to pick up your son that one night. I was like, can you make the fart noises outside? And you were like, yes, but you didn't want to, we were in church. We were in church world at that point, picking up kids from church camp. So
yeah, you have to, there are so many things I've wanted to do. There's so many things I have done, but yeah, you have to, I want my kids to speak to me. I mean,
I saw a video. Speaking of that, I saw a video of it gave me the idea, but I saw a video of a dad showing up to pick up his teenage daughter from high school, and he was dressed like Elf, like the movie.
Oh, I saw that too.
Oh my gosh. And she's running and she is trying to chase her down. All right. It's getting late and we're just rambling. So thank you guys for listening. This was a great album. Hope you enjoyed kind of getting through it. Leave us comments, email us your thoughts, how we're wrong, how In Your Face is the best album that's ever been, or something. Just disagree or agree, whatever you want to do. But
we're stupid or we're smart. 5-star reviews.
Oh, either way.
Please. Yeah, we haven't gotten any good written reviews in a while on Apple Podcasts or whatever, but or even Spotify. So if you want to write something up nice about us, about how we're attractive for older men, or we sound good and we have the voice of an angel, whatever. Yes. But yeah, thanks for, this has been a long one. I appreciate you listening to the very end. If you've made it this far, you are my best friend. So thank you for doing that. And hopefully we'll have another, I'd like to get another episode out later this month. So maybe I think we can make that happen.
I think we can.
I think we can do it.
Let's do it.
I don't have all this stuff to do.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about what that is. We'll make it happen. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. We'll be back hopefully in a couple of weeks, but in the meantime, just stick around our socials. I'm always around there popping something out every few days. So, and keep an eye out because you may get a dramatic reading of some lyrics from me soon. So
Nice.
that's worth the wait. Trust
It's worth the wait. All right. Peace out, guys.
Peace out.